This is Josh Dun, one of the most famous drummers in the world. In just a few years, he went from working at Guitar Center to touring the world, playing for hundreds of thousands of people. But how did he get here, and what makes his drumming so impossible? After studying hundreds of hours of footage, I found 6 drumming secrets that every drummer should know if they want to get on the level to drum for 21 Pilots. Now, if you haven't figured it out by now, Josh Dun typically zigs when everyone else would zag. But there's one head-scratching decision that he's made that makes absolutely no sense, but is also absolutely brilliant. Check out these next few clips to see if you can point out what I'm talking about. Now, most drummers have their snare drum tuned pretty high so that they can get more bounce and maybe a little bit more versatile of a sound. But Josh Dun does the complete opposite and tunes his snare insanely low, making it sound very dead. And in doing this, he's made his deep snare a part of his iconic drum sound. So why is this important? Well, by doing this, Josh completes the iconic drummer trinity. Again, most drummers think that to be iconic, they just need to play complex stuff all the time. But in reality, you need to stand out in 3 ways. And that is your presence, your approach, and your sound. And guess what? These 3 things do not always have to be the hardest version. Josh has taken simple approaches, but just tweaked them slightly to make him stand out from so many other drummers. So I'd encourage every drummer to take a look at their drum set and ask, what is one thing that I can change that will make everything that I do sound more unique? And it doesn't always have to be buying new gear. Josh just tuned a drum head lower for free and got a more iconic sound. Now I'm gonna rank this as easy because it's easy to simply change the tuning of your snare that results in a more iconic sound.
Let's jump together, let's jump. 1, 2, 3, let's go.
So when you think of 21 Pilots, can you tell me what genre of music they play? Yeah, me neither. Now, to understand 21 Pilots' eclectic sound, we need to take a look back at when Josh Dun was younger. Now, Josh started playing drums when he was 12 years old, and growing up, he had a record store right by his house where every week they were recommending him new types of music.
One guy would give me like a hip hop album, and one guy would give me a punk album. And I would do the double headphones thing where like my Walkman's on, and then my headphones for the drums were on, and I'd kind of blend the two, and then I'd play along with sort of both.
And because of this, Josh's drumming became insanely versatile and influenced 21 Pilots' sound to be as eclectic as it is now. For example, you can hear reggae influences in this song. Or drum and bass influences in this song. I call this inspiration hacking, and some of the most creative drummers use this exact method. There are way too many drummers out there who are bored of their own playing, tired of sitting behind the kit and playing the same thing over and over, and not being able to play any other gigs outside of their one very narrow genre. But the best drummers are the innovative ones who have a new approach on the kit. And this is typically where they take outside genres and apply them to their main genre. Now, if you want to be a more innovative drummer, here's a very, very simple way to get started with inspiration hacking. Step 1 is to listen to a full album completely separate from the main genre that you're used to listening and playing to. Because in step 2, you are going to identify 3 drum parts that you really, really like and that stand out to you. And then finally, step 3 is to bring those ideas over into your genre. So if you're a metal drummer and listen to a hip hop album, try to incorporate those 3 hip hop grooves into a metal song that you're working on. Now, I'm gonna rank inspiration hacking as hard because it can be difficult to stretch yourself outside of your genre. But remember, the best drummers are masters of this, so it is an exercise worth doing. What if I told you that you don't even need to know that much about drumming to play endlessly creative drum fills? In fact, all you need to know is 2 simple words, and that is right and left. And that's exactly what Josh Dun is using here.
One time to twist and one time to shout, one time to think, and I say we start now. Sing it with me if you know what I'm talking about. Dream about a space, but now they're laughing on the face.
Too many drummers are learning note for note drum fills that they can only play one way. But Josh is a perfect example of how when you hone in on one simple pattern and can play it in a multitude of different ways, you get endless possibilities for amazing drum fills. And the beauty is that Josh uses the simplest sticking pattern ever, which is the single stroke roll. Here's a simple framework to follow to get endless fills from one pattern. Step one is to learn the simple pattern on the snare drum alone at a slow tempo. Once you get comfortable with that at a faster tempo, step two is to move your dominant hand around the kit in random sporadic ways. This is really your chance to experiment with what paths feel the best to you. Step three is to simply repeat that, but with your weak hand moving around the kit. And then finally, step four is to combine them both, where you can easily move your dominant and weak hand around the kit for a multitude of different fill patterns. And if you want a bonus step to push it to a really advanced concept, you can start replacing certain notes with kick notes that can start to break up the pattern in some really cool ways. Now, I'm gonna rank this technique as easy because all Josh is doing here is taking the easiest pattern ever and playing it in cool, unique ways. Now, Josh Dun shares one key trait with some of the best drummers of all time. And it's such an important aspect of being a top-level drummer that they made an entire movie about it.
Were you rushing or were you dragging?
Now, while Josh is not a jazz drummer, he shares one key trait with the main character of this movie, and it's what makes him so successful on the drums.
Man, what's your hobbies? What else are you into outside of music? I used to come home from high school and play the drums. And now I just come home from tour and play the drums. Like, I want to play the drums right now.
Now, when it comes down to it, the best drummers are the most obsessed, and Josh is no different. He has a constant hunger for improvement at all times. But the key to being an obsessed drummer is to continue to be obsessed even when you hit a roadblock in your progress. You see, most drummers are obsessed when playing the drums is fun, but once they hit that roadblock, it stops being fun and they either stop playing altogether or stop putting in as much time because it doesn't feel as rewarding. So when you're stuck at a roadblock, whether that's a fill, a beat, or an exercise, these are your cheat codes. Slow it way down. I start every exercise no faster than 60 BPM and spend a long time at this very slow tempo. Your brain needs to understand the pattern before your body can play it. And if you're introducing it too fast, your brain is not retaining the information. Your second cheat code is to chop the beat up. If you're stuck on a 2-measure drum beat that's way too hard, cut it into fourths where you just work on a half a measure at a time to make it more digestible. If that's still not working, your third cheat code is to remove a limb. You'd be surprised at how much easier certain patterns are when you remove the kick drum or you remove your dominant hand. This gives your brain a chance to digest what's difficult, and then you can slowly add in that new limb and then speed it up from there. And the key mindset shift for when you experience a roadblock is to shift from being frustrated that you can't get past to being curious to how you are going to figure out this puzzle and being excited by what is on the other side of it. Now, I'm gonna rank being obsessive as frustratingly difficult because even if you are obsessive, you might be obsessed with working on the wrong things. You see, there's so much information online telling you to do a million things on the drum set, and none of it is clear, all of it is inconsistent, and none of it is made for exactly where you are in your drumming path right now. But when you get obsessed with the right things and following the right path, well, that's when you can make very, very clear and fast progress. And that's exactly what I've made for you on my online drum school, DBO Academy. If you want a clear drumming path that guides you towards fast results in an incredible drumming community, along with a ton of play-along notation, including some of 21 Pilot's best songs, well, then click the link below to join me for a 15-day free trial. We've had tens of thousands of drummers level up their drumming and have a ton of fun in the process. So click the link below and I'll see you there. While being an amazing drummer is hugely important, a lot of the times it's just not enough to cut it in a famous band. And Josh Dun is the perfect example of this in 21 Pilots, because oftentimes it's not even his drumming that make people love him.
Josh is right above me, and I can feel him. Feel that my best friend is right above me.
I woke up, my head was purple because my head was hanging down all night. We were just talking all night.
Now, Josh Dun and Tyler Joseph have a brotherly bond, so much so that they've gotten each other's names tattooed on their body. So why does this bond matter? Well, when you are in a famous band, you spend a lot of the time touring in very close quarters with each other, basically living with your coworkers 24/7. And if you're the type of person that can't sacrifice for your bandmates, admit when you're wrong, and generally be pleasant to live with, well, then you might get the gig, but soon get fired from that gig. And this is not just specific for 21 Pilots, this is equally true for all bands. I started off in I Prevail as a touring member. I had to not only show up prepared, do my job well, but equally be enjoyable to be around, which can mean staying out of conflicts or going out of your way for other people. Because the reality is, there's most likely someone who can do your job better, but you have to think what makes you irreplaceable. And while yes, your drumming can make you irreplaceable, it's a lot easier to make your personality and your bond with your bandmates irreplaceable. Now, if you want one simple way to keep a gig and open up meaningful dialogue between you and your bandmates, it's simply this one question: what can I be doing better? If you ask this to any of your bandmates, it immediately positions you as a team player who not only wants to improve themselves, but wants to improve the whole band. Now, I'm gonna rank this as hard because developing good relationships isn't always easy, and being humble throughout it can sometimes be difficult. But I promise you, it's something you have to do if you want to solidify your place in a band. Now, Josh Dun has a secret hi-hat technique that he's adopted that, in my opinion, make all of 21 Pilots songs way more interesting.
Don't wanna love, but deny, deny, deny you.
I like to call Josh's secret hi-hat technique the chopping block. Too many drummers think they need to make all of their grooves insanely complex to stand out, but oftentimes what they're left with is a hurricane of notes that doesn't fit the song at all. But Josh knows the higher level secret, which is to make your beat stand out, just take a simple groove and remove a few notes from the hi-hat, and you immediately have a beat that sounds much more creative. If you want to replicate Josh Dun's hi-hat chopping block technique, here's a really easy two-step framework. Step 1 is to take a simple 16th note hi-hat groove that you already know how to play. Step 2 is to remove anywhere from 3 to 7 hi-hat notes in random places. The reality is, if you want to make music that appeals to the masses like 21 Pilots, you often have to play something simpler than what you want. But Josh Dun works within that simplicity and makes it more creative so that him and the whole band stand out a lot more. Now, I'm gonna rank the chopping block as impossible because this is Josh Dun's specialty and makes him so hard to replace. He lives and breathes this technique and always has it in his back pocket. And to get there, it takes a lot of work. Now, once you've mastered these simple concepts from Josh Dun, it's time to turn the dial up and learn the framework to play insane drum parts like Mario from Gojira. Click right here to check those out.